Which constellation in Star Citizen is the best and which one should you buy? In this video we're going to compare the 4 constellations, namely the Taurus, the Andromeda, the Aquila and the Phoenix. There's only one clear winner which you will see at the end. Out of all of the constellations, all of the ships have almost the same height, length and width, except for the Taurus. The Taurus is a cargo ship, so the length is going to be a bit longer. The length of the Taurus is only going to be 8 meters longer, but you will see why this is a benefit later when we talk about the cargo. But either way, if you're looking for a smaller ship, the Taurus is going to lose in this category. Looking at the mass of these ships, you'll see that it might be a bit confusing. How can a ship like the Aquila have more mass than the Taurus if the Taurus is a bit of a bigger ship? Well, there's a reason for it. The Aquila has more mass than the Taurus because it also carries a P-52 Merlin and an Ursa rover. So the Merlin is a snub fighter and the Ursa rover is a ground vehicle. So these ships can carry ground vehicles and, of course, snub fighters. The same goes for the Phoenix. The Phoenix carries a Lynx rover and the Kruger P-72 Archimedes. But the Phoenix doesn't have the same mass as the Aquila because its cargo grid is a bit smaller. I will show you the comparison of these ships' cargo grids a bit later, but just know that the mass of these ships do differ because of the snub fighters and the ground vehicles that these ships can carry. You'll also see that the Andromeda has more or less the same mass as the Taurus just because it only carries one snub fighter called the P-52 Merlin. But the Taurus doesn't carry any type of vehicles, no snub fighter and no ground vehicles. And this is why the mass of these ships are so different. Now that you know why the mass is so different, either way the Taurus and the Phoenix are the winners of this category. The Phoenix is a bit smaller size than the Taurus, but it also has a smaller grid of cargo. So this is why the mass of these ships are the same. The vital part for all of the constellations are precisely the same, meaning that if this part gets destroyed, the ship will be self-death. So all of these parts are the same. It makes sense since basically these ships have the same body. The shield HP and strength of all of these ships are also the same, just like the vital parts. So this means that all of these ships have the same size of shield. Looking at the firepower of these ships, we can see that the clear victor is the Taurus and the Aquila. Both have the same amount of firepower, or rather I should say the same amount of sustained DPS. We can see that the Phoenix is falling off and also the Andromeda. So if you want a ship with more firepower, you're probably going to go with the Aquila and the Taurus. If you're going to use some gunners with your ships, let's look at their DPS. You'll see that the Phoenix is going to pull ahead here and also the Andromeda, which is a bit strange since in the solo pilot DPS they were one of the lowest ships. So this means that it more or less evens out. I would say that if you have gunners running with your ship, these ships will have insane DPS, even more so than the solo ships if they even have gunners with them as well. So if you're going to have a multi-crew, I would say go with the Andromeda since it also has a very good DPS for the solo player. Just a side note here that the Taurus also gives up one of its turrets for a tractor beam. So if you want a tractor beam on one of these ships, the Taurus is going to provide that tractor beam. Looking at the combat speed of these ships, we can see that the Andromeda is one of the fastest ships on this list when it comes to combat. And in second place, we're going to see is the Phoenix. And of course, the Taurus and the Aquila is going to be the same speed. It seems to me that the Andromeda is going to be heavily focused on having gunners and being the fighter type of ship. Just remember, a faster ship dictates the fight distance, so if your ship is a little bit faster than other ships, you can dictate the fight distance. Now we're looking at the navigation speed of these ships. We can see that the Aquila is the fastest ship on the list, and the slowest ship is of course the Taurus. It makes sense since the Taurus is a little bit of a bigger ship, but we can see that the Andromeda in the last comparison had a faster combat speed, but here we can see the Aquila here has a faster navigation speed. So the Aquila will be a much faster ship for running away and traversing the verse, making it a better exploration ship. Now we're looking at the maneuverability of each ship, and we can see that the pitch, yaw and roll rate of all of these ships are exactly the same. So there's no difference between them. You might feel a little bit more heavier with the ship if it has a bigger mass like the Aquila, but actually the pitch, yaw and roll rate of these ships are exactly the same. Now we're going to look at how stealthy each ship is. Basically, how easy is it to spot the ship in the verse or the spot distance. We can see that the biggest IR and EM signature is going to be the Taurus. It makes sense since the Taurus is a more cargo heavy ship, and the lowest IR and EM signature is going to be the Aquila, meaning that if you're going to go for more stealth, it's probably going to be the Aquila. But I mean, these ships aren't made for stealth. They are more medium-sized ships which can transport cargo and do exploration. You're not going to go on a stealth mission with these ships, so I wouldn't say these stats really matter. Now we're going to talk about cargo capacity or cargo size. This is probably one of the most important stats for these types of ships, and we can see that the Taurus has the bigger cargo, and it's almost double the size of the Phoenix, or it is double the size of the Phoenix. You have to take into account that the other three ships can carry vehicles like snub fighters and ground vehicles, but I wouldn't say that is really necessary, because you can just put in a ground vehicle in the Taurus as well. The only thing is, are you really going to use a snub fighter while using one of the constellations? At the moment, I don't think it's necessary. You would rather just use your own light fighter in game. If you want to use a light fighter, you won't go out with a snub fighter, but that's just my opinion. I'm sure there's a few game loops where you want to use a snub fighter, and of course I know there's a reason to use a ground vehicle, for example when doing bunker missions, so then you want a rover. But of course you can just drive your rover into the Taurus as well. So in my opinion, you should get a Taurus because it has the bigger cargo size, and also it has great DPS for any solo player. And of course it comes with a tractor beam and also a turret gunner. Also a big reason to go for the Taurus is because it's the cheapest ship on the list. Out of all of the constellations, it's the cheapest ship, and it provides the bigger cargo capacity. And cargo capacity is very important when you want to do trading, you want to go loot and so forth. So I would say the Taurus is the clear winner in this list. Now that you know which constellation to get in Star Citizen, go and watch this video to see the best all-around ship in Star Citizen.